Welcome back to another episode of This is the Main Character. This is Amber, and this is Baron Bonnie, the most useful skill in the game, I believe. Come on, get that. Yeah. Bollocks. Can't get this thing. There we go. Crystal core. I just like having those. Now, let's look around the Dawn Winery and talk to Tunner. Hello, do you have any message from my son? Depends, like, who are you and who's your son? Me, pals in the winery call me Old Tunner. I'm a farmer here at the Dawn Winery. My family has been farming here for generations. Most of the good wines you've had were probably fermented using the grapes here. Every owner of the winery has been treating our family very generously. But I don't think it's a good thing for my son to inherit this land and become a farmer for his whole life. Because, yeah, it's best for people to choose what they want to do. And this kind of lets them place themselves in a much better position, depending on their personal character, of course. So let's see. Your son? Question mark. A guy. His name is Guy. Ooh, this guy. Guy was the guard in Monster, Eastern Gate or something like that. North Gate, whatever. The guy on the right side. The thing on the right side, if you just enter the town somewhere, like in the center of it. Guy, his name is Guy, my beloved son. What, you've never heard of him? Ah, that's fine. Sooner or later, you will know him, the whole Mondstadt will know him. My son, Guy, told me he was going to be the strongest knight of Favonius. I believe in him. I spent all my hard-earned money for his sake to give him a better future than mine. Guy is determined to fulfill his dream. He became a squire at 16, so our household has been relying on him since. Ooh. Okay. And then he's the one getting all that money in. Okay. Interesting, interesting, interesting. But how would you make this even better? So that you're not all the time depending on, well, lucky circumstances, let's say. Because he can't guarantee that he will be successful in this undertaking. Okay, let's get... Bam! Thank goodness that thing is fireproof. Oh no. How do you... Like, come on. How are you supposed to climb up on these if they are... if you always collide with it? There is melancholy number 7. Okay, another chest, of course. Thank goodness. Now then, where's a good climbing spot? Good climbing spot might be... Actually, never. You can't get on that. Except if you use trickery... and the glider, something. Okay, you can't enter it. How would you climb up the Dawn Winery? Maybe from, yeah, from here. You have to go from the front-ish, kind of. But you could hide a chest in here. Not just one, but many, 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 many more. Can you enter this thing? Yes. Nice. But we don't do that, because there's one NPC that I want to talk to. So, what else? The Fox in the Dandelion Sea. Another version. Like, we picked up the book, but the book is not gone. Look at that. It's still there. Only thing that vanished was the little glowing dot. Oh, there. Animocula. Alrighty. Anything else up here? Chests in ones? No. Like, there's one chest down there, and most of the time they're not close by. Or that close. The thing is, every time I do the down strike in midair like that, it takes a little too long. See that? Like, you stand in the air. What I want to do is just vroom. Immediately trigger this and fall down. Okay, warehouse manager Ernest. Hello there. Where did you come from? What do you want with me? Depends. Who are you? What are you doing? I'm the cellar manager here. Occasionally, I oversee stock transportation. The role isn't stressful and the boss is extravagant. He pays me quite well. Even without all that, just being in the company of this priceless stash is amazing. Just think of how few people ever get a chance to even see such magnificence, let alone work with it. It's just wine, dude. It's just wine. What's over there? With the wine cellar. What would I be doing here otherwise? Let me tell you, don't get any ideas about this wine here. You'd never have the chance to put them into action anyway. No, it's nothing. Okay, so it might be that these people have a problem with wine getting stolen. Wait a minute. Why is this purple? See that? There's a little purple icon there. Okay, before we enter the winery, I want to know what this is. That looks weird. It's a marker. Strange marker. And this is why I like games that have a huge draw distance for objects. So you can, yes, you can actually see really far, and you can direct yourself. What is this? Viewpoint. Manor of Daybreak added to the archives. Oh, this is how you do that. Okay. The archive. That's the wrong button. It's also the wrong button. Okay. There might be a different one for the archive, but the manor, I think it is in geography. And this is the one. You have to get the viewpoint filled with the fragrance of grapes and wine. This is the estate of one of the Mondstadt's distinguished houses. It has conquered drinkers the city over with its unmatched wines and is in some ways the holy land to which all who love the bottle must make pilgrimage. Does really look cool. Only problem is the plains in the back. You really see that the texture just mushes. I like it. It's just like everything up here, really close by, is looking good, and everything back there is just it turns muddy, and that's not cool. Is there a graphical setting for that, like draw distance or something, like visual effects, overall settings, volume, reflections, crowd density, whatever? I think what you have to do is turn up motion blur or something. Yeah. They just took a screenshot and put it in there. But I don't... I thought that the game actually had a better draw distance. Like, not render resolution, shadow quality, visual effects, settings. Anti-aliasing, volume fog, I'm looking for, like, not display mode, also not graphical quality, but, like, draw distance. Is there no way to increase that a little? Like, come on. That really looks bad. The game itself looks good when you are next to objects or whatnot. But if you look that far away on this kind of thing, then it's just... it's a bit... It's strange. It's just strange. And you can't even look at that sign there. Let's enter the Dawn Winery though. Let's see what we can get in here. High level weapons and artifacts can provide a lot of experience when used to enhance weapons. But higher level... Oh, that just mean higher level as in star stuff. Elzer, Executive Chairman, Mondstadt Wine Guild. There's a wine guild. Oh, and the Drunkard's Tale. Let's just get everything in here for our little archive. And then Ballads of the Squire, Fox and the Sea, Drunkard. The Drunkard is done. Strange vase. A vase that looks completely out of place in this building. Probably a gift. And an owl statue again. A watcher of the night. Forget not the splendor of the dawn. O ye who contend with evildoers, sway not from the path of righteousness. can even go down there. And we can... Oh, come on. Isn't it great? Oh, we can't open that little chest there. What is it? It's a cache. Yeah, small chests are called caches. So, biography of Gunhilder. Hillie and Moco. Hillie and Billy. Oh, come on, why can't I see them? That's weird. They are... Oh, they vanish because they can be found at a completely different location. So, Diluc and Gaia, but what do they do? So, Adelinde. Greetings, welcome to Dawn Winery. Master Kaya... Wait, Master what? You know him. I trust he's doing well for himself lately. If you're asking about the title, that's all in the past. Sorry. There was a slip of the tongue. Please disregard it. Okay, so Diluc and Kaya might be of the same family, maybe. Okay, who are you? I'm the head housemaid. Please come to me if you ever need help with anything at the winery. My work, just housekeeping. Most of the time, it's just cleaning the rooms and taking out the trash. Nothing strenuous. What can you tell me about the rumors? Was it Moco and Hillie you heard that from? It sounds like they've been telling tall tales to the guests again. Don't take them too seriously. Nothing they tell you is worth paying too much attention to. Did you really think there could be quite so much drama, eh? Is that how it is? Sure. You're overthinking things. That's just nonsense. How's your appetite been recently? I made some extra steaks today. If you're not picky, please take them. Like I said, don't overthink it. These are perfectly normal animal steaks. There's nothing wrong with them at all. They are poisoned. Oh, delicious sticky honey roast. Not just any kind of steak. They are the best steak. Let's see. Food. Delicious honey here. Decreases all party members' climbing and sprinting stamina consumption by 25% for 900 seconds, which is 15 minutes? Yeah, I think it's 15 minutes. It's like, wait a minute, 600 is 10 minutes and half of that added to it is 5 minutes more. And co-op mode, that like you really have to calculate in a strange way if you go from like minutes or seconds to minutes. It's just strange. Oh, distinguished guests, may I ask, are you here to discuss business? Depends what kind of business you want to discuss. I am Elzer, under his grace when the master of the house is away. I take care of most major affairs. Master Diluc does not tend to worry himself too much with the affairs of the winery, so whatever business you are here to discuss is probably best discussed with me directly. You have another identity, don't you? You have a keen eye for detail. Executive Chairman, Mondstadt Wine Guild. Okay. Is it true that my other role is Chief Executive of the Mondstadt Wine Appreciation Guild? Appreciation Guild. But I do not do it for appearances, nor do I seek to hide it, my liege. The simple fact is that, given Dawn Winery's standing in Mondstadt, there is barely any distinction to be made between managing the affairs of the winery and managing the affairs of the whole industry. Yeah, if you're just big enough, then there actually is no problem there, right? Okay, tell me about your past. My past? That's something I can tell freely about. I trust you know of the winery's former owner, Master Creepers. He was Diluc's father. Master Creepers was like a father to me too. He was in the prime of his life at the time of his tragic accident all those years ago. Master Diluc spent a long time grieving. It was during that time that I started taking care of some of the winery's affairs. I thought that rather than be overcome by sorrow, it was better for me to share some of Master Diluc's load. It was also the only thing I could do, though it was a little presumptuous of me to act beyond my role. I do think perhaps that's what Master Creepers would have liked to see. Sorry, that got a bit deep and depressing, didn't it? A ton of depression. So let's go to the higher quarters here. Of course, you cannot enter any of those rooms, can you? What if there's something hidden in there? Wait a minute, whisper. come on. You have a staircase that leads to an upper floor. But you can't even enter a single room up here. Really? Alright, all the others might be outside again. Doo-dee-doo, doo-doo-dee-dee-doo, doo-doo-dee-doo. Yeah, there's this guy. Where are the two? There we go. They just switch location as a unit. Suck to them. No way. So that guest really? Totally. Not so loud. I was on duty that morning and it seemed like no one had left. But I cleaned all the guest rooms on the second floor and guess what I noticed? All the rooms were empty. No freaking way. That's so creepy. So what happened then? Then I asked Adelinde, like, hey, what happened to the guests who arrived last night? And she totally ignored me. She was just like watering the flowers in the garden and talking to herself. What was she saying? She was all like, next year when these flowers are in season, they will look gorgeous. Oh no, please don't be cannibalistic. Oh, please don't know. Do you know? No, what? We have one less key than Adelinde. Does that mean there's a secret room? Right, you got it. And so this one time when I was waxing the floors, I noticed that right down at the far end of the corridor on the second floor, there's a hidden room. Wait. Right down the far end of the corridor on the second floor, there's a hidden room. Good. Really? So that's really the room then. Well, I crept up to the door, and as I got close, I heard this thud sound getting closer and closer. I was like so scared, and then just as I was about to run away, Adelinde was behind me. Yikes. The weirdest thing is that she didn't even tell me off. Instead, she was all polite and asked me nicely to go back to my room. But when I got back to my room, that's when I realized that a thudding sound, it was exactly like how Adelinde's shoes sound when she walks. Really? Okay, this time we are actually able to talk to both of them, or at least we can trigger two different kinds of conversations, so that's really done, and that's a lot. Yeah, like they talk to each other, but it's not one conversation, it's two conversations, and depending on who you trigger the conversation with, you get a different one. So it's not you talk to one character or you talk to the other character, but you start two different sets of conversations. Like, this is really weird. Alright. This is, I think, also why she was so keen on giving me the steak and saying that, they're completely normal steaks. They're cannibals. Unbelievable. At least, this is what one might think. Or not, depending on the situation. But, yeah, let's hope for the best, though. Alright, but we do have a finished book set, don't we? It is not The Legend of Vanessa, also not the Hillie Ballads, Monster Tower, also not that. It is Ballads of the... No, which one was it? So many Hillie though. Out of it, no. No, was it? Like something we actually finished. Breeze amidst the... No. Ooh, collection not started. Collecting, collected. Ooh, that's a good one. Ballads. Maybe it was the Ballad of the Squire, wasn't it? I think so. Yeah. Down every street in Mondstadt have I strolled. The air was filled with the stench of misery and the buzz of revelry. I saw the most arrogant of aristocrats, and I saw the most pitiful of the impoverished. At night the streets are a spider's web, some here to feast, others their eternal prey. I hear a jangling in the night, and know it is the chains that fetter the souls of the oppressed. I patrol the streets of Mondstadt at night time, where my peers and superiors would once declare, we are the Starlight Knights. Lift thy heads and bear witness, For we who raise our flags in the splendor of starlight are the true protectors of Mondstadt. But not once have I lifted my head to the stars or gazed at our flag, for I cannot shift my focus from the filthy street corners. Destitute peddlers weep in silence, aging soldiers grimace in pain in the deathly stillness of night. A young girl rejected by the aristocracy pleads for barbarous mercy. The sighing of mournful winds rattles the cathedral gate, carrying with them the grief of the oppressed. They assault splendid palatial walls, each mother's call, each infantry's cry, enough to dent the hardest of shields, enough to shatter the sharpest of swords. Sounds of sorrow send shivers down my spine, but in the palace and in the castle, though the wind blows the same over holy ground, they are but the size of ants to the ears of men. Volume 2. One day at the crack of dawn, a dancer whose sword was her song set foot in Mondstadt, though clad in chains, with cuffed hands and fettered feet. In her silence lay a song. It was the song of freedom, a song of a bright dawn beyond the walls, a joyous ballad sung without reservation by a people unrestrained. She was the dawnlight of the wanderer's trope, but she spelled eternal midnight for the aristocracy. I once asked her, "Why do you come to overthrow our aristocrats? Do you not know that they are the first among us? Wherefore do you place their lives on a pedestal? Came her voice like a fresh breeze. If you claim to know the wind as your companion, then did you not once know freedom too?" To her lonesome listeners she told a tale of our rulers' better ancestors who held divine power, a tale of angels, gods and wild dragons, a tale of the deities and people of all the land. Each myth and legend she turned to song, and the wind carried the song to all corners of the land. In the aristocrats' arena her sword sang once more, her final masterpiece, but it stopped short of perfection. A nameless knight retrieved her sword from the blood-soaked battlefield and buried it where the gentle winds meet in communion. Buried it? Where is that supposed to be? But this is good. That means that there's a sword hidden somewhere in the... yeah, somewhere. Okay. At least we now have gone through all of that. And then there's, of course, the Drunkard's Tale, which is... that's a few chapters. Oy, oy, oy. How many is that? 4. I could take a little while. I could really take a little while. Okay, in the land where the Dandelion wine flows like a river, tall tales have a way of spreading far and wide, following closely in the wake of the width of wine. Far-fetched fables are always sure to spread when boasted between burbs by inebriated bar patrons, for those stories share something in common with the slurred speech and seasickness-inducing swaying that so often accompanies them, which is that despite being clumsy and awkward, they are also highly entertaining. Legend has it that there was once a famous drunkard in Mondstadt. It was said that he could hold his alcohol as well as any hunter from Springvale in the off-season, and yet still he would drink till he was drunk. Every time that he drank, he would not budge so much as an inch back from the bar at the tavern until not a single mora was left in his coin pouch, and not a single drop of wine remained in his glass. One night, this drunkard was doing his best to stumble home after a particularly satisfying session of especially heavy drinking. A combination of his spinning head, blurring vision, and zigzagging stride served to navigate him towards a forest populated by wolves. Today, of course, Wolvendom is presided over by the great Wolf King of the North, and the ominous atmosphere that emanates from inside the forest is sufficient to deter most sober-headed visitors from approaching the area. According to the elderly hunters, the Wolf Kingdom gathered the spirits of the wolves there to prevent outsiders from trespassing into territory where they are not welcome. But this was an age long before the Wolf King and the North Wind had descended upon that forest, bringing order and peace to the Wolven race. At that time, the forest was a perilous place where wild Wild wolves fought for survival. A fierce blood feud between wolves played out deep inside the dense foliage, concealed from view and unbeknownst to any human. Least of all to the drunkard, who had by this point managed to transport his drunken self quite some distance inside the forest. He stumbled forward in the darkness with that dogged determination that only drunkards possess, deterred neither by the tree roots that would trip him up every few steps, nor by the stray branches that would slyly slap him in the face from time to time. Before long, a pair of green eyes began darting through the forest, their gaze fixed on him, tracking his every move. Those eyes belonged to a lone wolf who silently pursued the drunkard from behind, all the while musing to itself. This is the most peculiar sight I have ever seen in my life. No one had dared set foot in the Wolven Forest in hundreds of years, be they a knight clad top to toe in shining steel armor or a desperate fugitive dressed in rags. Even the callous nobles refused to exile their slaves there for fear of inciting the wrath of the wild wolves and bringing unwanted troubles to their own territory. And yet, this odd fellow dares to stroll in here all by himself. How very strange indeed. The lone wolf pondered this strange phenomenon as it followed the drunken intruder through the forest, doing its best to ignore the stench of alcohol that was wafting its way. Volume 2. It is a well-known fact that wolves have a far keener sense of smell than humans. Another way of putting this is that their noses are much more sensitive. Little wonder then that the stench of alcohol emanating from the wolves' now historically intoxicated prey was quite stifling and caused tears to well up in its eyes. Oh, the wolf thought to itself. Having been born in the wilderness and grown up in the forest, the wolf had never had any contact with human civilization before this night, and though it had once caught the faint scent of wine wafting across Cider Lake, it did not know the scent's origin, lest still understand the significance of that substance to humankind. Perhaps this peculiar fellow is a relative of the skunk, for it seems that he discovered my presence quite some time ago, and now means to poison me in an effort to secure his escape. The wolf pondered this possibility as it braced itself against the onslaught of alcoholic fumes, picked up its pace, and discreetly maneuvered its way into the drunkard's shadow, the perfect vantage point from which to inspect its prey. The wolf is a creature of caution and calculation. The drunkard, meanwhile, is a different sort of creature entirely. And yet, though wine tends to dizzy the mind and dull the senses, it sometimes affords its consumers the curious capacity to detect the subtlest of changes in the direction of the wind. Perhaps this could explain how a bumbling drunkard fumbling through the forest was suddenly able to discover the presence of a wolf that had been stealthily following him the entire time. Or perhaps the alcoholic fumes given off by the drunkard were sufficiently potent to diminish the wolf's mental acuity, to the point that the wolf became less mindful of the terrain beneath its paws. The resulting sound of snapping twigs thus alerted the prey to the predator's presence. "Who's that? Don't suppose you know which way the toilet is, Ballads?" The bumbling drunkard rubbed his bleary eyes. "Foul-smelling humans," snarled the wolf. "Who are you, and whence proceeds your stench?" The wolf flared its nostrils, bore its fangs, and growled. Not only was the drunkard afraid when he heard the wolf's gruffling voice threat, but he even became quite animated. "My friend, the drunkard replied, clearly I've offended you. Somehow sorry about that, but anyway, Mondstadt's tradition says you are not allowed to be drunk and bored at the same time. So here we are out in the woods on this glorious moonlight night. How about I tell you a story?" His proposal was promptly punctuated by an almighty belch before his point. The wolf had no intention of listening to the belching buffoon's drunken rumblings. In fact, it was poised to deliver a fatal blow to its prey by lunging for the neck, sinking its fangs in and tearing his throat clean out. But the drunkard's belch blasted a further boat of fumes in the wolf's direction, assailing its nostrils with such force that it ruined the wolf's appetite entirely. Grudgingly, the wolf agreed, "Perhaps I'm not so hungry after all. Let's see what nonsense tale you have to tell." The drunkard stretched out his arms and let out a loud yawn, disturbing a few dandelions in the process, and with that, the drunkard began to tell his tale. Legend tells of a lone wolf that roamed a barren wasteland far, far away. Once he had been king of this pack, leading them in the hunt, in battle, and in the search for a home. Now the sole remaining legacy of those days were the scars that covered his body. He had led the way as they ran across open plains, navigated through abandoned ruins, and passed through the domains of monsters and the Seelie. The wasteland was a cruel place. The Wolf King grew older with each passing day, and the other wolves gradually dispersed. As time went by, the wolf pack's history faded into distant memory until finally only the aged Wolf King remained, the sole survivor of its pack. This wasteland is said to be a land beyond the dominion of deities, inhabited only by the grotesque, ghostly remains of fallen gods, where the former palace of the Seelie now stand empty. So when a solitary old wolf passed by a grey palace and heard the sound of music coming from within, it caught its attention. Never before have I heard a sound so pleasing to the ears, whether it be song of a bird or insect, that it stays the pangs of hunger in my starved stomach as this tune does. Intrigued by the wolf stepped inside the grey hall, trod across the overgrown weeds, and passed by a broken sarcophagus on which a portrait of the deceased ruler was still clearly visible. Finally, he came to an inner room where he saw a fair maiden strumming at her instrument. Her skin was ashen white and her head was bowed down. Her slender figure grew gently, stroking the fragile strings of the lute as she played a long-forgotten and mournful melody. The wolf sat down in front of the pale young maiden and forgot all about the pain of hunger, thirst, and loneliness for a short while, as it listened in silence to her song. The chirping of insects on a long-gone autumn night is the chorus of exiles, singing mankind's most ancient song as they lived out their plight. Stripped of all that body once held close and the soul once held dear, songs and memories are all that now remain of yesteryear. The last singers, the first Seelie, they played their final tune in the Hall of Angels. The tiny Seelie playing in the forest were also drawn to the young maiden's tune and flocked to her to pay their respects. "What is this song that you play?" the wolf asked, puzzled, for it understood every line, every word, every syllable she spoke, and yet hers was a language that it had never heard before, quite unlike that of any other living being. "A song of the Seelie," replied the pale young maiden in a soft voice. "Long, long gone we wrote this song for the human savages, yet now we sing it to mourn our own fate." The wolf began to sing along, albeit clumsily, to the maiden's tune. The wolf's voice was husky and broken, filled with a lifetime of sorrow. "What are you singing?" the maiden asked of the wolf. "This is our song," responded the wolf. "It sounds ghastly." The maiden made no attempt to soften her criticism as she continued to caress the lute strings. "But you are welcome to sing along with me all the same." And so a shared chorus sung by a fair young maiden and weary old wolf filled the chambers of the long-abandoned palace. It is said that to this day, adventurers who pass by this place still hear a strange yet harmonious melody sounding from within. And then the story ends here. The wolf licked its lips and somewhat rueful, and then said, "I suppose I shall tell you a story now." And with that, the wolf cleared its throat and began to tell its tale. Legend has it that the first wine of Mondstadt was brewed in an age when the north wind howled. In the age when the kings of ice and frost fought for dominion, Mondstadt's forebearers brewed rudimentary wine from wild fruits even as they shivered in the biting cold. They did so to ease the pain of their frostbitten fingers and to give them the courage to face the harsh and unforgiving ice. For at that time, the land of Mondstadt was engulfed by ice and snow, and the dandelion Dandelions had not yet reared their heads. It is said that the first person in Mondstadt to discover the craft of wine brewing was a grossly negligent god in a tribe beset by blizzards on all sides. It was the inevitable job of the hardy hunter-gatherers to stock the storage pits with food, and it was the guard's task to guard against intruders. The sight of a human intruder was a rare one indeed in that harsh environment, but there were other creatures who could better withstand the cold, and they would burrow underground to reach the food stocks. They ruled the rules of the tribe were that one person should inspect the storage pits at all times, filling in any mouse holes discovered, or better still, catching them red-handed in the act of pilfering to keep the tribe's food supplies at plentiful levels. At the time, the damp, dark caves needed constant care and attention to prevent the food they held from going bad and rotting. On top of this, the mischievous little creatures that hid away out of sight would sometimes play pranks on the guards. One day, a willy wind spirit noticed that the grossly negligent guard was once again being grossly negligent. So the spirit took the form of a fox and crept into a pile of wild apples. There, it caused yeast to grow, ripening the apples and causing them to ferment. The grossly negligent god was ravenous when he returned and elected to partake of one of those apples. The mellow taste of fermented fruit delighted both his body and his mind. Immediately he took animal hide and squeezed the juice from the apples, creating wine. The grossly negligent god who first invented brewing in the age of ice and snow also became Mondstadt's first drunkard. It is said that he was the first person ever to fall into a drunken dream. In his first drunken dream, he drunkenly entered the dreams of a lone wolf. Somewhere in the long-lost past, or possibly the far-flung future, he fought fang and claw with rival wolf packs, battled with humans for food in the midst of a raging snowstorm, and met the first Seelie. The tribe-dwelling human and the pack-dwelling wolf could not bear the life in solitude. This newly brewed wine served to bring man and wolf together in their dreams, but their attitudes towards these dreams were poles apart. The human, who knew only the wind and snow, yearned for the wasteland where the lone wolf runs freely. But the lone wolf was fearful of the human's desire. It could not understand why this human was captivated by dangerous illusions and sought hope from within them. What concerned the wolf even more was that when in a drunken human dream, it could no longer distinguish whether it was a wolf or a human with a wolven spirit. So the wolf saw an oath never to touch the human's poison again, to resist the allure of wine. Wolves are not the children of the wind, and the land of the wine and song is not their home. So the wolves left the human's domain and settled far off in the wilderness and deep in the mountains forests, places where the scent of wine could not reach them. What you humans call wine, we wolves call the abyss, the wolf haughtily concluded. But as the wolf turned towards the drunkard to say this line, it discovered that the drunkard was now lying fast asleep on a bed of pine branches. The wolf was most displeased and violently expelled a puff of air from his nostrils, before leaving the still punished pile of sleeping human to his business and going on its way. Ah, that is a beautiful day. So now we got all 4 of them, and the rest will be read in its entirety at another time, I believe. Now, only thing I have to do is figure out where this hidden room is supposed to be. Like, there could be something here and here and here. It might be that this room is supposed. That could be it. Or there is another room back here. But they said at the end of the... right here, right? This one could be opened as well. Interesting to know too is that you can use the glider inside the building. Alright, they say that there's a hidden room, but where is its entrance? Like, I can't see it. I don't even have the key for it. Yeah, they said that they... do they have it? Wait a minute. Who are you? Masakea? What can you tell me about the rumors? Oh, wait, what rumors? Was it Moco or Hillie you heard that from? It sounds like they've been telling tall tales to the guests again. Oh, this one. Don't tell you is worth paying any attention. Did you really think they could be so quiet and much dreamy? But it is still strange that she has this strange steak recipe. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird because both parties seem to be in tune with their story. Like, one says that it's not true, the other one says that it is true, but for some reason their behavior is fitting. Connor, the winemaker. Hello there. Welcome to Dawn Winery. Are you here for a tour? Depends. Who are you? I'm Connor, winemaker, here at Dawn Winery. I've been here since Master Creepers was still in charge. Master Creepers was also Master Deluxe's father, the former owner of this winery. Oh, wait a minute. Unfortunately, Mr. Creepers died in his prime, and now the burden of running the winery falls on Master Deluxe's shoulders. Tell me about the winemaking. Dandelion wine is the signature product of our winery, offering a unique, sweetish and refreshing taste and rich in cereal aroma. As to how it is produced, I suggest you seek the answers on beer brewing and distillation technology. There are thoroughly written books and easy to find in the library, but Master Luke has never read them, not even once. Well, you don't need to know anything if you own the thing, right? You just have to use it. Tell me about the look. Although Master Luke appears to have a little interest in wine, I believe he bears the same talent in winemaking as his father, only waiting for the right time to reveal itself. The only question is, when will that time come? It's really strange, like everybody's like, inherited talent and whatnot. Wait a minute, you cannot destroy that? They're usually able to destroy any plant life. Look at this. But not those. Strange. There we go. And we got another crystal core. Goody. I think I got all of those NPCs. Wait a minute. Yeah, I think that's it. Pretty much. Is there a hidden door somewhere? Wait a minute. No, there's no hidden door there. Would have been really interesting. Maybe that... Nah, there's no hidden door. Like, once you go around the building, there might be... a cellar somewhere. Or an entrance to a cellar. Maybe. That you can enter, and then there's a hidden room or something. But there's nothing like that. The reason for the cellar is to store all the wine in a cold environment. Nice. So it does not perish that easily. Alrighty. I think we got most... Well, I don't think that we got all of it, but at least most of it. And I don't know where we could look again in order to get additional chests and whatnot. And we also read the Drunkard's Tale, which is perfect. The next task is definitely the Sealy thing, and also like the daily missions too. Yeah. Daily missions. Definitely going for the daily missions. What about my Mora? B maybe. Where do I find... There we go. 401 or 1,000, that's good. Or was it 300 something? 1,000? And I was always buying all of the items from the smithy just so I can upgrade my stuff. But yeah, that's probably not needed. So, you have to do 4 tasks all the time. So there's... Ooh, okay. The last one is somewhere further north. That could be difficult to do. But this one here is next. So we have to go to Springvale here. And from here on out, we have to go east. But this is something that we can do at another point, at another time, I would say. So let's just point ourselves in the direction that we need to go. And then... Oh no, we do it in a different fashion. We just rush forward. Ah, there was a lizard. Bollocks. Ooh. Also an elemental crystal. Let's not forget this thing. Bam. Special crystals, and you can't find them anywhere. So, wait a minute. In front of me, it is in this one, Electro. Is it Electro? Yeah. Electro crystal. Okay. I should definitely put that there. And this will be this little encounter with the enemies for another time. Nice cliffhanger. Until then, like and subscribe. Ta-ta!